Hey everyone, good evening. It was certainly another mild day across Central Oregon with some of those near record high temperatures. We actually broke a couple of records, even tied another one. Now, the next couple of days, more sunshine is on the way. There's no precipitation in sight, and a cooling trend is expected. So, there is going to be a shift in our weather pattern, and basically, the ridge of high pressure that's just been anchored over the Pacific Northwest moves slightly, and it's going to put it back over the Pacific Ocean, bringing in a slight dip in temperatures with a low chance of a few sprinkles with some clouds coming in. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. I am Darrell Winninger, meteorologist at Central Oregon Daily News, and we're about to take a look at what's been happening today, what's expected through the next couple of days, and how those changes are really going to play into our weather pattern. So let's start off with what we're seeing right here and right now. It looks like we are setting up for a gorgeous sunset. There is a lot of color already as the sun is starting to set, and we can also see where there have been a couple of smoke plumes. Nothing that's a wildfire that I've seen just yet or anything like that, mostly some ag burns, couple pile burns that we know about, but it's still taking its toll on our air quality. We're about to talk about that plus more here during the next couple of minutes, but just take a moment. Take in that breathtaking sunset. Now, today, temperatures were pretty mild again. We topped out in the 50s and 60s. I had the forecast high for today around at 59 degrees, and we were in the 50s and 60s through the Tri-County area, so I haven't done the actual average yet, but it looks like it was right on target with the forecast. Now, record highs for today, we broke a record in Bend. The record high was 59. Let me move this over real quick. It was 59, set back in 2018. We got to 64 today. In Redmond, we got to 62, which tied a record in 2009. Madras was, it looks like about 8 degrees just south of tying that record. And Prineville was about 7 degrees off from tying the record. But look at Sun River, breaking a high once again, got up to 55. That record high was 54, set back in 2012. And in Sisters, we were 4 degrees shy of tying a record high that's been in place since 1994. So we had another round of these mild temperatures above, not just above average, but record-breaking highs for parts of the Tri-County area. And our snow report shows, well, not much change. We have not had any precipitation, which also means no mountain snow. It was bluebird conditions today. We lost an inch through the Cascades, and through the overnight hours, no new snow is expected. By tomorrow, temperatures dip down quite a bit, but we're still going to be above freezing. We still have tons of sunshine, so more compaction and melting is expected at both Bachelor and Hoodoo, and we're still in a position where we're not looking at much at all in the way of precipitation through the next 7 days, but by the end of a 10-day planner, if we had a 10-day planner, we could be looking at our next round of precipitation. Outside of that, we just have a lot of gorgeous views across Central Oregon. Now, that Powell Butte camera, it's pointed to east and a little bit further south, so east-southeast of Powell Butte, which puts it right around just south of Prineville, because Prineville you have to go back to the northeast and north of the Prineville Reservoir. And there was a little bit of a smoke plume there, and that could have easily been an ag burn, but right now it's not showing much, just that tone of red across the high desert tonight. Now, we do have a series of air quality related weather alerts in place. We'll talk about those here in the next couple of minutes, but here's where we're sitting right now. As far as the hourly average, the DEQ hourly average, courtesy of airnow.gov, it's good to moderate around La Pine. But when we look at some of the real-time sensors in Madras, unhealthy. In Warm Springs, moderate air quality. So we're switching gears and looking at a third network for air quality monitoring stations. This is the Purple Air air quality network. We have a couple of pile burns that satellite imagery has been picking up on in and around Central Oregon, but there are also, we definitely have reduced air quality. Most of these sensors are either green or yellow, a couple are orange, and a few of them are red. So a handful of them are down to unhealthy. Now through tonight, more times of poor air quality are expected, and as we cool down, the atmosphere sort of shrinks, and that compresses a lot of what we have down here at the surface, and this is the reason why across much of the state there is an air stagnation advisory, and there's even an air quality alert through the Cascades of southern southern Oregon. And really, we're just looking at periods of poor air quality. Now, on the other side of the Cascades, there's a dense fog advisory through the valley, and from south of Eugene to south of Medford, we do have a freezing fog advisory, but here in central Oregon, nothing for fog, just this air stagnation advisory, and we are looking at times of just poor air quality. So even when we look at some of the cameras, courtesy of ODOT, they show dry roads, not much in the way of cloud cover, and there's just been no precipitation to speak of. Even in the passes, the few spots where you have a little bit damp conditions on the roadways, that's just because of melting. And temperatures, the temperature up at Santiam Pass is 58 degrees, so it's up there. Now, satellite and radar does not show much. What we're looking at here is infrared, a blend of infrared and visible satellite. As the sun starts to set, you begin to see things darken up just on the eastern side of the map, and that's because we're losing visible satellite imagery and it's switching over to just infrared. Now, when it comes to satellite, there's not much in the way of cloud cover. When it comes to radar, a few showers right along the international line, including the Olympic Peninsula and getting into the Puget Sound. But as far as central Oregon, yeah, we're dry and we've got nothing anywhere near us. Now, switching gears a little bit more and looking just at infrared satellite imagery, and there's an enhancement that really pulls out those tall clouds. We notice that weak trough, that weakening front that's rolling into the Pacific Northwest isn't packing much of a punch. It will bring a slight dip in temperatures by tomorrow, but we have shallow clouds, no development, and when it comes to pressure gradients, we just have a light breeze across the entire Pacific Northwest. Now, looking at the bigger picture, this high pressure is ridging along the coastline, and we are looking at it sticking around for a couple more days. So all of this activity way out over the Pacific Ocean, that's just going to move right around our high pressure, pretty much avoiding us and leaving us in an area of very dry air. Water vapor is also a satellite product, and it shows slices of the atmosphere and how much water vapor there is. When you get into the bright blue colors, such as around our weak front, and the yellow colors, we're just talking about dry conditions. So even with that weak front, it is mostly dry, and over most of the Pacific Northwest, we have that yellow, very dry condition. So when we look at our forecast model, this is the high resolution forecast model. Sometimes I use it on air, but to be honest, the most it's tracking for us here in the next couple of days is going to be the potential for some of this fog. And fog already starting to set up as low-level cloud cover descends in the valley. It's going to become fog, and we are looking at the potential for that to become dense for parts of the I-5 corridor. Even looking at the potential for some freezing fog, pockets of freezing fog south of Eugene through Roseburg and into Medford. Meanwhile, for central Oregon, some pockets of fog are possible. Where it happens could set up as freezing fog. Then by Thursday, we're back to more sunshine. Watch what happens. Thursday afternoon, few clouds roll in. Those clouds descend overnight, and we have fog throughout parts of central Oregon. Not for everybody. However, we are looking at the potential of this becoming freezing fog. And with freezing fog, that always carries that chance of a few flurries. It carries that chance of some freezing drizzle. So it's something we're really going to be tracking Thursday night going through Friday. And then through Friday, we start to get some clearing, but some of that cloud cover even hanging out by Friday evening. And we could be looking at another round of fog Friday night going into Saturday as well. Now, when it comes to relative humidity, we're dry, y'all. Until you hit up towards Warm Springs and Sisters, we're in the 30s with some 40s. Now, this isn't critically dry like we typically see during the summer on the high desert, but it's just dry. We already talked about the high temperatures today. We were way above average, broke some records, tied some records. It's still 61 degrees in Redmond, and we have 40s and some 50s on the map elsewhere. That puts us running between 2 degrees cooler and 3 degrees warmer, so very close to where we were just 24 hours ago. And here through this evening, it gets chilly, then it gets cold. After midnight, we're dipping below freezing with 20s, a few teens and 30s, and by tomorrow, we warm right back up, starting with that morning warming trend. But we're just not going as far. We're topping out in the low to mid 50s with some 40s on the map. Now, this gradual cooling trend that's setting up starts Thursday, continues as we wrap up our work week and goes right into the weekend. So through Thursday, we still have have a broad ridge of high pressure over the Pacific Northwest, really over the coastline. It expanded into the Pacific Northwest, but it's retreating back out over the Pacific Ocean. This is what is helping to assist that cooling trend. We're looking at 50s and a few 40s. By Friday, that high pressure no longer the major player in town. We're still going to have tons of sunshine from it, but that cooling trend takes shape. We're looking at highs in the 40s. By Saturday, 40s, a few 50s, still no rain in sight all the way through Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We're bone dry. Now we get this dip in temperatures that brings us close to, but still a little above, the average high of 44 degrees. And some roller coaster temperatures are expected. A couple waves of moisture that are still going to be dry, but between now and next Tuesday, so the next 7 days, we're just, actually, I'm sorry. That should say, yeah, that's Tuesday at, I think, 10 a.m., but either way, we're just not looking at any precipitation at all. And that's because of this high pressure. And it starts to come a little bit closer to the Pacific Northwest later next week. So let's go ahead and time this out. This one's going to take us all the way through next Tuesday, and then we'll start to see a shift in the weather pattern by Wednesday. Now, your forecast model has mostly clear conditions outside of those air pockets of fog tonight, areas of fog Thursday night going into Friday, and then by Friday night, a lot of it starts to clear, but we could be looking at a little bit more of it Friday night going into Saturday. Outside of that, man, we got sunshine. We are going to be getting cooler, though. Now, the GFS is a long-range forecast model. This is going to take us through the next 8 days, starting with today being day one. So through the overnight hours and the next couple of days, we really stay clear across the high desert. Now, this one is not showing any potential for fog, but it typically doesn't, even when we have fog. So even by Sunday, sunshine. By Monday, sunshine. By Tuesday, a few PM clouds. By Wednesday, more cover rolling in. And then it's not until Thursday that we start to see that next chance of precipitation. But between now and Tuesday at 5 p.m., nada. So winds are at a gentle breeze across the high desert, and they've been like that through most of the day. This light breeze staying with us, and that continues through the next couple of days. Now, by Saturday, could get a little breezy at times. But for tonight, expect 20s with a few 30s, and a couple of teens are going to be possible. Not much in the way of cloud cover, some pockets of fog possible. Thursday, 50s with a few 40s out there. By Friday, 40s with very few 50s, and it gets chilly for a couple of days as we go into this weekend. By Sunday, temperatures tick up a couple degrees, come back down on Monday. We're looking at some weak waves of moisture that are technically cold fronts, just not bringing any precipitation at all. Winds barely getting breezy at times. However, some roller coaster temperatures are expected. Then by Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures begin to pick up. After that, by Thursday and Friday of next week, we have a chance of some showers. Now, I'm stressing that word, that phrase, a chance, because all week long it's been pushing it back a little bit further and a little bit further. And we know that some of these long-range forecast models, very similar to the GFS actually, are too cold and too quick. So they bring systems in too quickly and they're way too cold. It actually shows snow when we're not looking at snow. However, there is still going to be a chance of some precipitation by Friday, Thursday and Friday of next week. We'll have more on that the closer we get to it in the next couple of days. But here is a quick look at your weather headlines for this Wednesday, January the 14th. More sunshine. Another round of mild temperatures, just not as pleasant as it was today, and stagnant air sticks around. Now, periods of poor air quality are expected, but late this week, a cooling trend sets up, and we're staying dry. That's the latest in weather. Tune in tonight to Central Oregon Daily News. We will have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. And here's one more quick look for you at that satellite and radar. It's showing, well, nothing. And then when we go ahead and look at the air quality conditions, we have a series of weather alerts across the entire state. Nothing for fog in Central Oregon, but a lot of that on the other side of the Cascades. See you tonight, Central Oregon Daily News.